PM is due to hold a public Q&A during a visit to the East Midlands today to set out his plans ahead of the general election.
Now, meanwhile, the Labour leader, Keir Starmer, is also preparing for a speech he'll deliver this morning where he's going to urge voters to reject pointless populist politics and promise a clean-up of politics. That was a lot of P's all in a row. Joining us now, though.
Absolutely. Conservative MP for Bournemouth East, Tobias Ellwood, despite the rain. Tobias, very quickly, we'll talk about the Middle East. I just want to ask you one thing. Both the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister and Starmer out on manoeuvres all across the country. Front of the Times today, Starmer, Labour Party is the party to end the despair. Do you, Tobias Ellwood, feel that your party is a party of despair? Are you despairing, my friend?
It has been despairing. Let's put our hands up. It's been the toughest, most miserable 3 or 4 years that I've had. I've been an MP since 2005. This is going to be an election year. The backdrop has been Ukraine, it's been COVID, it's been Brexit, the consequences of that. That would have been tough for any party in power to deal with that economic backdrop, the challenge to the cost of living crisis and so forth. And then, of course, we've had, let's put our hands up, the difficult.
No.
Oh, what a shame.
And then 50 years of trust. But now we're seeing a sense of statecraft, a sense of purpose return to number 10. The inflation is coming down. We've got a sense of fiscal responsibility back in the Treasury as well. With the last financial statement by Jeremy Hunt showed great incentives to boost productivity for our industry and commerce. And, of course, increases in benefits, increases in pensions, and we're probably going to see reductions in taxes in the March statement as well. So things are getting better, but boy, have we left it very late in the day.
Yeah, and will they get better fast enough? That's the problem.
No, you're absolutely right, which is probably why most people are anticipating the election being later in the year rather than perhaps in May, which is the other date that's been suggested.
Tobias, I want to move on. Front of the Telegraph today, you're the expert on everything that's to do with what's happening in Gaza and the Houthi rebels and everything. Front of the Telegraph today, Boris Johnson condemns the Met's Gaza probe. Your ex-boss is saying the Met Police have better things to do and should be looking a little bit inward. I have to say, the headline I agree with. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I'm with that as well. I do agree that every country should be following international law. There are processes and protocols for that to be checked. Is it something that the British police should be doing? I think that needs to be justified. But to link it in with the last conversation, I would absolutely pay tribute to what Britain is doing now on the international stage. We've moved into a more turbulent, more fragmented period in modern history, an era of insecurity. And finally, we're seeing Britain starting to play a role on the international stage in a way that I've not seen for a few years. Then the Middle East, as you were touching on, tough year 2023, even tougher in 2024, because no single stakeholder in the Middle East is actually in control of events. No power, no alliance is able to say where this is all going to go. Certainly not Israel, certainly not Hamas, certainly not Iran, and certainly not the West either. So there's every possibility that this is going to escalate. We've seen what the Houthis are doing in Yemen. I'm really pleased to see that we've joined an alliance that's going to stand up to those missile attacks in the Red Sea. But I think we need to go further. Those ships have been attacked already. We shouldn't be just taking out the drones in the skies above the Red Sea. We should be taking out the silos themselves, the actual sites from where these are launched. That would be defending international law, being robust. That's what Thatcher or Reagan would do. That's, I hope, what we will do now.
You're sort of echoing what Grant Shapps said, which is that us and 12 other countries that have, us and 11 other countries that have signed, sort of issued this ultimatum to the Houthis. Grant Shapps said we wouldn't hesitate to take necessary and proportionate action against the Houthis. What do you think that would entail?
Well, as I just illustrated, you've got to be able to take these out later. Immediately. You can't leave it until later. Putting out an ultimatum at this stage now, it will be tested by the Houthis. They'll fire more missiles. Why are we waiting? It's got a feeling, a reminder of those red lines back with in Syria in 2013. Those red lines have been crossed already. International shipping is being redirected around Africa. That's another 40 days for those ships to get to the UK, for example. That, again, knocks on and impacts our inflation. It affects the cost of living. It affects prices. It affects energy prices here in the UK. So let's be robust. Let's be forthright. Let's act immediately and move forward with this. If there is another attack, absolutely, those missile sites need to be taken out in Yemen straight away. And not forgetting as well, behind Hamas sits Iran. Behind the Houthis sits Iran. Behind Hezbollah sits Iran. Unless, I'm afraid, we grasp that nettle, the Middle East will continue to be insecure.
Tobias, as ever, my friend, really appreciate it. Really appreciate you being on. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.